Today we are talking about a tale of two cities, Phoenix versus Scottsdale, and which one might be right for you. So hold tight, we're getting started right now. All right, welcome back. Today, like I said, we are talking about a tale of two cities, Scottsdale versus Phoenix, Arizona, and what might be the best fit for you if you are thinking about moving to this fine state of ours. All right, so let's start off with a little bit of background. So Phoenix is our state capital. Actually, our state capital has moved a few times over the state's inception, but currently Phoenix is our state capital. It's the largest city in the state. It is in the northern part of the state, and it's about 115 miles from the Mexican border. And in Phoenix, the population is about 1.7 million people. Now, Scottsdale, on the other hand, is only the fourth largest city in the state. It sits more like in the northeast portion of Phoenix, and the population in Scottsdale is 255,000. Actually, it was 200,000 when I first moved here 12 years ago, so we've increased quite a bit over the last several years. And really, the cities run parallel up and down, with Scottsdale Road being the dividing line. Scottsdale is to the east of Scottsdale Road, and Phoenix is to the west. And for the most part, it does jog a little bit for certain neighborhoods, but for the most part, that is the dividing line. And the funny thing is, which you might not notice until somebody points it out to you, but when you go down Scottsdale Road, the buildings on the Scottsdale side, there is a moratorium about how tall buildings can be because they do not want to block the view of the mountains. And on the Phoenix side, you will see that the buildings are much taller. Like I said, you probably wouldn't have noticed it unless somebody pointed it out, but that is in fact the case. All right, the feel of the cities. So Phoenix definitely has a bigger city feel. Obviously, it's substantially larger, but Phoenix actually has like a downtown. There's tall buildings, it just has that downtown feel, has mass transportation, all that stuff. Where Scottsdale doesn't really have a downtown per se. It has Old Town Scottsdale, which has some like municipality, like the building and planning department. There's this courthouse, like a civic center thing, and then restaurants and stuff, but it doesn't have what you would consider like a typical like downtown. That is just one of the differences, is the kind of the feel. All right, entertainment. So in Phoenix, you are going to have those big city things. You're gonna have the professional sports teams that are housed in Phoenix. We have the Diamondbacks baseball stadium, and then we have the Arizona Cardinals. So you don't have those professional sports teams in the Scottsdale area. You also have a lot of museums. Phoenix actually is also the host of the Fiesta Bowl, and then this year we're actually hosting the Super Bowl. So you do get some of those big ticket items. Now, however, Scottsdale, it also does have some large events. In Scottsdale, it's home to Westworld. So in Westworld, they hold the Barrett-Jackson car auction, which is a huge thing. The Arabian Horse Show, which is also huge. I didn't realize that people actually owning a horse, like in the Middle East, is a high sign of prestige. And so people fly their horses in for that show. I had no idea, but it is a really big deal. We also have spring training, which is really fun and draws a lot of people to the area in the spring here. And then who can forget the Phoenix Open, which is crazy. Actually, little side note, fun fact, the population in Scottsdale about doubles the week of the Phoenix Open. That's how many people attend that outing. So big too that they actually have to set up a separate fire department and a separate police department in the grounds of the Phoenix Open. So who knew? I was in a leadership academy, and that's the only reason I knew, and they told us all about those little fun things. So, all right, cultural differences. When you're in a larger city, you do get a lot more cultural diversity. I think there's more like cultural festivals in Phoenix, even like LGBTQ and gay pride, things like that. There's a lot of really good, authentic Mexican restaurants, food here. So I think you just get a lot more diversity, I would say, in the Phoenix metro area versus Scottsdale. Now, Scottsdale does have some amazing restaurants with great food choices and things like that, but we don't have big festivals. It's just a much smaller scale city, so you just don't have a lot of that where you get in the bigger city. Phoenix also has a lot more museums and things like that. One of my favorites is the Science Museum. I used to love going there with my kids on their field trips. It's just really, I probably had more fun on those field trips than the kids did, because that stuff was really fun, just really neat exhibits. All the kids wanted to do was like run around the place. Scottsdale does have some museums too. There's Taliesin of the West. That's where Frank Lloyd Wright made his home for several decades before his death. I think he died in 1959. We also have the Museum of the West, and that's Southwest kind of history museum. It's down in Old Town. It's actually really neat. I'm not a huge museum person, but that one I thought was actually really interesting. Okay, let's talk public transportation. So if you need to take public transportation to get around, you don't drive, then Phoenix is really going to be where you want to live. There's way more public transportation north to south than you get in Scottsdale. In fact, there's a lot of bus lines. There is a rail system that goes actually between Tempe and parts of Phoenix. Now in Scottsdale, there's some busing that's like down by Old Town and things like that, but when you get up in the North Scottsdale, I don't think I have ever seen a bus up there. I don't think I actually see that many buses in North Phoenix either, now that I think about it. So I have lived in both. I lived in Scottsdale for 11 years, and then I just downsized a couple years ago, and I currently am living in Phoenix. So I can't speak about how they feel because I've lived in both of them. All right, housing. This is a big one. The difference in housing prices, housing choices and housing prices. In Phoenix, you are gonna have just a lot more options as far as different price points of homes. The average home price, and it's the median price, not the average, because when you sell luxury or high-end houses, it can inflate the average home price. So we're looking at the median price, which is the middle between the very high and the very low. The median home price in Phoenix is $460,000 for the last annual sales. Now in Scottsdale, you do have different price points. I'm not going to say that there just aren't as many home choices for a home like around $460,000. You are just a lot more limited. The median sales price for a home over the annual sales was $1,030,000. So you can see that is a big discrepancy between the two cities. So if you're looking for more affordable housing, Phoenix is probably going to offer you more options. Schools. Both cities have a lot of charter schools. There's a lot of public school options. There's very good schools in both for Arizona. Arizona isn't necessarily ranked all that high in some of our school districts, but there are a lot of options in both of them. Like I said, there's a lot of charter schools. We have open enrollment, which might allow you to pick where you want your child to go. It's not guaranteed, but it doesn't mean that just because you live in a certain neighborhood doesn't mean you can't necessarily send your child to the school that you really prefer. But I would go on greatschools.net and then do some evaluation of the schools if you're contemplating living in a couple different neighborhoods would be my suggestion. All right, so the overall feel. To me, this is just my personal opinion from living in two different cities. Scottsdale is just luxury. That's just what it comes down to. You drive down the streets, the roads are really pretty, it's very clean, very well maintained. You see a lot of fancy cars, and you probably will pass a BMW or Mercedes about every third car. A lot of Rolls Royces, Bentleys. It's just, I had never seen cars like that till I moved here. I was like, holy cow. The fancy sports cars, my boys had a field day when we lived here looking at all the Ferraris, and there's a lot of really nice high-end shopping. I think shopping in Scottsdale is better than what you can get in Phoenix. Now there is some nice shopping in Phoenix. It's just not as luxurious. There's nice malls, like the Fashion Square is a huge mall. You can find anything you want there. Commons and the Scottsdale Quarter, all just both really nice outdoor malls offering really beautiful options and beautiful stores to go in. Phoenix, I think, is more of a, like I said, I think there's more diverse. I think there's more in income levels. I feel that there's more like people still working that live in Phoenix. Scottsdale is a lot of people that live in Scottsdale, they're second home buyers. There's a larger working population in Phoenix. But Phoenix has amazing restaurants, so many great places to go, fun places to go. And there is nice shopping. The PV Mall is no longer, they tore that down, but there's the Biltmore Shopping Center, also a beautiful outdoor mall. There's also Desert Ridge, and then there's High Street, which offer some nice restaurants, good shopping and things like that, but definitely not as glamorous as what at Kierland Commons and the Scottsdale Quarter. If you have any questions about both of these cities, I'm always happy to answer them. Just leave a comment below. Or if you're thinking about moving to the area, I will put my contact information will pop up here below. And please reach out. And I'd love to connect with you socially. I put my links in the description below. So if you want, you just check below the title of this video, and there's a little button that says description and more, and it'll show you all my links to my Instagram and my website. So thanks so much for watching. I am Michelle Miller with Michelle Miller Realty and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Arizona Properties. Appreciate your time, and we will see you in the next video.